Happy Wednesday, everyone. Well, not if you're Whoopi Goldberg, a.k.a. Karen Johnson. Yeah, who knew Whoopi was a Karen? I thought that was only for white people, like Toyota Priuses and skiing. Roll it, Francis.
Good morning and welcome to The View. You all saw the news. Whoopi will be back here in 2 weeks. Okay?
It's so cute when one of their side gets punished. They sulk like they ran out of raw cookie dough in the green room.
Whoopi Goldberg just had a meltdown so wild it could be its own Lifetime movie. Slow piano, dramatic pauses, the whole thing. The trigger, Greg Gutfeld, who roasted her so hard her ego went into hiding. Think daytime TV was chaotic before? Watch Goldberg fall apart faster than one of her jokes. Brace yourself. This takedown is messier than a Real Housewives reunion in the middle of a hurricane.
She suspended Whoopi for 2 weeks because she said the Holocaust had nothing to do with race. She said this on a show called The View, which makes everything about race. Except now.
The Holocaust isn't about race.
No.
It's not about race.
Ethnicity.
It's
about a different race.
But it's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
Yeah, that's heroically stupid.
Whoopi's latest outburst makes toddler tantrums look like a meditation retreat. 1 second she's lecturing from her plush leather throne on The View, the next she's coming apart like a cheap sweater in a spin cycle. The cause? Gutfeld, the Fox News spark plug who wielded sarcasm like a flamethrower in a fireworks shop.
View, otherwise known as Hell's DMV, Whoopi Goldberg asked how much different are the values of the Trump administration from the Taliban.
We have a leader who has repeatedly demeaned women, wants to defund organizations that benefit women, calling on the media to shut up, specifically wants to give preferential treatment based on...
If you are enjoying this takedown, please hit that subscribe button. But let's be honest, this meltdown didn't come out of nowhere. Goldberg's been slowly spiraling toward this public crash like it was a luxury meltdown vacation. The View, once a lively debate show, has turned into a chaotic group chat with 5 glitching Siri bots arguing over who's the most self-righteous. And at the center of the circus, shaking a tambourine of outrage, Goldberg herself confusing loud opinions for facts and noise for virtue.
Talk about groundbreaking to actually hear a celebrity say something mean about the Taliban. How dare they compare them to Trump? The Taliban should sue. Guess they ran out of Hitler analogies. So as they bash the president, I'm reminded how entertainers rarely express any rage over any strand of misogynist Islamism. If they did, we might take their rage toward Trump seriously. A reminder, the Taliban throw acid in girls' faces for going to school. Yeah, I guess that's like defunding Planned Parenthood. Radical Islam is all for killing gays, and I guess that's the same as making some rude jokes. No, Trump's past rudeness is a product of a rude culture, one fed and fattened by a coarse entertainment industry.
Now imagine her horror. Greg, smirking and armed with pure satire, finally fired back. His clapback was so sharp it echoed past Fox News and struck straight into Goldberg's soul. Her reaction, a meltdown with all the stability of a soggy tissue. Gasps, eye rolls, and that classic look of disbelief that anyone would dare roast the self-proclaimed queen of daytime drama.
Canada, apparently they're throwing tariffs on manatee meat and bovine semen, which means The View is very unhappy. Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
Let's be clear, this wasn't just a simple roast. Greg didn't just embarrass Goldberg, he tore apart her talking points with the precision of someone filleting a fish. While she rambled about whatever trending cause had captured her curated echo chamber, he exposed the holes in her logic, and instead of responding with reason, Goldberg defaulted to her go-to move, flailing. This is a woman who has turned emotional grandstanding into an Olympic sport, always ready to play the victim like a magician pulling a dove from her sleeve. But don't confuse this this meltdown with real vulnerability. It was pure performance art. The View has become a breeding ground for ideological conformity, where real debate goes to die slow, jittery, and over-caffeinated. The hosts don't really discuss anything. They nod in unison like perfectly polished bobbleheads afraid to crack their veneers. Each episode is a contest to deliver the most extreme take with maximum smugness. And Goldberg. She's the undefeated champion of that parade, serving up lukewarm hot takes with the confidence of someone who skimmed a headline 2 weeks ago and now thinks she's writing UN policy briefs.
Brains are small, but who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sunny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now, The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't shatter. So instead, let's check out this clip from Monday's episode of The View when the ladies put their science caps on and discuss the solar...
The moment anyone dares to break the groupthink, they're either shouted down, gaslit, or if they're a guest, politely disappeared into a commercial break. It's less a talk show and more a live-action Twitter mob. When Greg entered the chat, figuratively speaking, he wasn't just tossing shade. He lobbed truth grenades into a house built entirely on feelings, calling out what viewers have long suspected. The sanctimony on The View is so thick it might as well be a co-host. Goldberg, caught mid-monologue, looked like someone who accidentally wandered into a logic seminar. Her reaction? A masterpiece. First came the glare that screamed, "How dare you question me, peasant?" Then, the dramatic sigh, as if the weight of the world had landed squarely between her designer brooch and inflated moral compass. Finally, the full breakdown. A whirlwind of pseudo-intellectual rambling, vague historical references, and what could only be described as emotional interpretive dance. You could practically hear the producers scrambling for a commercial break because nothing says daytime disaster like a host trying to cry without smudging her eyeliner while shouting half-baked takes on topics she barely understands.
Hallway. The rapture is here. The rapture's here, and then also I learned that the cicadas are coming. Cicadas. Although I love for the first time in like 100 years. No. For the first time in many years.
No, every 17 years this happens.
Well, that's not what I read, but maybe you know, maybe you know better. All those things together would maybe lead one to believe that, you know, either climate change exists or something is really returning.
Earthquakes are not at the mercy of climate change. It's underground.
It happens, and the eclipse, they've known about the eclipse coming because eclipses happen, and they actually can say when these things are going to happen.
Amazing. Oh. That's not what I read. The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. Worse, if your name has the word sun in it, there's no excuse for not knowing how an eclipse works. But it's no surprise that Joy is the one who understands science. She's been on the science diet for years.
Greg didn't even have to try that hard. All he did was hold up a mirror. And what did that mirror show? A show running on outrage instead of insight, a host who thinks volume equals validity, and a panel so allergic to dissent they break out in hives if exposed to facts. Greg didn't just roast Goldberg, he exposed the emptiness of the whole setup. His commentary, dripping with satire, cut through the fog of self-importance hanging over The View like a bad smell. While Whoopi scrambled for a comeback, her co-hosts nodded in unison like backup singers in a cult musical. But let's talk about those co-hosts. This wasn't just a solo meltdown, it was a full group nosedive. Every time Goldberg flailed, they leaned in with supportive murmurs and faces that screamed, "We weren't ready for this." Joy Behar looked like she just discovered gravity, while Sunny Hostin fumbled a word salad that would make a thesaurus beg for mercy. Together, they launched the ceremonial circle the wagons maneuver, turning the moment into group therapy where accountability doesn't exist and feelings rule. They framed Greg's takedown not as a critique, but as an attack on all women, all hosts, and apparently anyone who's ever owned a coffee mug with an inspirational quote.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. she's actually the descendant of slave.
But here's the twist. Nobody outside that studio was buying it. The internet lit up like a Christmas tree powered by a Red Bull addicted elf. Memes, reaction videos, sarcastic TikToks. It was open season. Whoopi's meltdown was instantly dissected, remixed, and replayed in slow motion with dramatic violins. And what made it even worse? This wasn't a one-off. It was just the latest in a long line of classic Goldberg moments. Those glorious occasions when her arrogance crashes headfirst into actual pushback. And every time she acts like it's the first disagreement she's ever heard since 1993. Honestly, it's almost impressive to be so persistently wrong while staying defiantly loud about it. The View has perfected the art of being proudly uninformed. Watching it is like joining a book club where no one reads the book, but everyone gives a TED talk about the cover. And poor Greg, he didn't even insult her personally. He challenged her ideas. But in Whoopi's magical kingdom, disagreeing is blasphemy. Why engage in reasoned debate when you can collapse into melodrama, claim victimhood, and ascend to the moral high ground?
Whoopi claims Biden's loose bowels should make voters throw in the towels. Goldberg's rational so weak she doesn't care if Biden can't speak. Yes, it's a magical land where little Debbies make big bellies and brain cells go to die. This week on The View, Whoopi doubled down on her support of Joe Biden's re-election. No surprise. But it was her peculiar poo-powered prose that piqued my potty predilection. Roll it!
I don't care if he's pooped his pants. I don't care if he can't put a sentence together.
Meanwhile, Greg walked away from the clash like a guy who just won an argument with a GPS. He didn't gloat, didn't double down. He just shrugged, cracked another joke, and vanished back into whatever vampire lair he retreats to when he's not exposing televised hypocrisy. And honestly, that's what made the humiliation hurt even more. Whoopi brought emotional fireworks to a logic fight and lost. While she tried to rewrite reality with facial expressions and dramatic sighs, Greg stayed grounded in the deadliest weapon of all, common sense. By the end of the segment, Goldberg looked like a deflated version of her former smug self, confidence gone, replaced with the haunted look of someone who might, just might, have to rethink something. Tragic, really, but don't worry. By the next episode, she was back in full form. Any hint of introspection had been replaced with righteous indignation and a carefully curated monologue about how anyone who disagrees with her is morally bankrupt. That's how The View survives. Not by learning, not by growing, but by endlessly circling the same emotional drain and calling it discourse. So what's the moral of this melodrama? Even the loudest, most self-important voices can't survive a light breeze of actual critique.
If he his pants, and in fact, she'll stand right behind him. Not only does she have a terrible case of Trump derangement, she also has no sense of smell or a really weird fetish. And I'm not one to kink shame, to each his own. I guess you just got tired of Joy's crap. Kat, you know what was the most interesting thing about this was the audience reaction. Like when she started talking about poop being everywhere, the audience was like frozen. They were like, I don't, what is going on here? Whoopi has a poop problem.
What does she mean she has poopy days?
Public breakdowns are inevitable when your whole persona is built on being unchallenged. And Greg, love him or hate him, doesn't mind walking into the hornet's nest and swinging at Whoopi. Maybe next time she could try breaking out of the bubble instead of breaking down in it. Step outside the smugness, the delusion that her opinions are sacred relics. But then again, where's the fun in that? After all, without The View and its endless parade of cluelessness, where else could we go to feel better about our own ability to form coherent thoughts? Thanks for the laughs, Whoopi. Even your meltdowns are comedic gold. While she delivers emotional TED Talks with the urgency of someone who just discovered Wikipedia, Greg is over on Fox telling jokes. Imagine that. Humor and political commentary. Revolutionary. While The View drowns in its own righteous outrage, Greg's doing nightly stand-up disguised as news and still manages to make more sense than 5 women screeching over each other like caffeinated parrots in a wind tunnel. His secret weapon? Laughter. Not the canned kind, not the staged kind. Genuine, sharp, unavoidable laughter.
Studies are married white women, and they do fall in line with what their husbands are doing.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. So, but the problem with her is that she went full.
He doesn't need 5 co-hosts nodding like dashboard bobbleheads to validate his opinions. He doesn't weaponize victimhood or cry on cue like a soap actress gunning for a daytime Emmy. He dismantles hypocrisy with one-liners sharper than Joy Behar's haircut, and it lands because humor makes truth digestible, even when it hurts. Meanwhile, The View treats every disagreement like a hate crime. Say something they don't like, and suddenly you're the villain in a 4-part Netflix documentary. They aren't here for dialogue, they're here for claptrap, that smug mix of applause and self-congratulation that kicks in when someone dares to say something brave like, I don't like Trump. Oh, groundbreaking. Quick, call the Pulitzer. Gutfeld, on the other hand, thrives in the tension. He mocks both sides when it's needed because he knows the line between comedy and commentary is where real influence lives. That's why his audience is growing while The View's audience is aging out like expired yogurt. Younger viewers don't want finger-wagging lectures. They want sarcasm served with a side of truth.
Sunny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all. Because everyone knows the moon caused the eclipse, which is controlled by The View's gravitational pull. All right, Kat, did you ever see such a group? It's amazing how Joy and Whoopi became the smart ones.
For me, the most shocking thing about the conversation was how truly boring.
And let's talk numbers, because while The View thrives on feelings, ratings don't lie. And those numbers, they paint a cold, hard picture. Then came the internet roast. As for Greg, the comment sections were practically a standing ovation. This wasn't just a win, it was a landslide. While Whoopi clutched her pearls, Gutfeld casually claimed the comedy crown, mic in hand. Zero apologies given. The Empire of Ego tried to strike back, but spoiler alert, no one cared. The rest of The View's squadron of indignation quickly followed suit. Sunny unleashed her signature passive-aggressive eye roll, the kind that could curdle milk. Ana Navarro made dramatic throat noises like she was auditioning for a telenovela, and Joy Behar blinked rapidly and muttered something vaguely furious. Though to be fair, that's just her factory setting. They'll recover eventually, but for now, let's pause and offer our sincerest sarcastic thanks. Because without The View, we'd never fully understand what happens when privilege, delusion, and overconfidence get a daily time slot and a live studio audience. Their unintentional comedy is a national treasure, scripted not by writers but by pure, unfiltered hubris. And Whoopi, if her ego got any bigger, it would apply for a SAG card and start hosting the show solo. Bravo!